Hi guys, it's Blackie for Shaman's Forge Woodcraft. Continuing with the gray ghost idea, which has been fairly well received. I have been asked a couple questions. I'd like to address those at this time. We will be coming back to the bags and etc. But let me just address some of the questions that popped up. Why gray ghost? Okay. Why not the gray man idea? To my mindset, the gray man idea is an urban city thing, one that wanders with the homeless, etc. I'm probably wrong because I'm somebody that doesn't live in a big major city. What we practiced for back in the day was what we call gray ghost, because here in the South there was a story of during the Revolutionary War there was the gray ghost. There was a later Confederate that it was applied to, and it meant guerrilla tactics. It was someone who faded in and out, and the object in this was it was someone who could fade in and out of both the rural setting and the urban setting, the rural and the urban, the city and the country setting, drift back and forth between, because cities have resources you can't find in the country, such as medicines and things like that. You can get those in the cities. You cannot get those in the country easily. So, the opposite of the game here was for someone who would be in a situation where they could drift back and forth between both settings. They would be comfortable in the woodland environment and self-sustaining, and yet be able to drift back in to gather resources in the cities. So, a gray ghost, one that could be in both places. Okay? Next, edged tools. We did not discuss that, and someone asked me about that. And I would be going to that normally later on, but we will discuss it now. Whatever edged tool you wish to carry, as long as you feel comfortable with it and you have good skills with it, yes, I recommend multiple. I recommend a pocket knife of some kind. Me personally, I'm always going to come back to a Swiss Army knife or one of the classic types of slip joint, 3-blade Stockman, etc. That's what I grew up on. That's what I have the greatest skill on. The Boy Scout type knife, those things I cut my teeth on as a child, and I have a great deal of hands-on skill with that blade. You may differ. You may want to stick with something like a multi-tool because that's what you've got your skill in. And a multi-tool is a good choice in the pack because we're going to be encountering mechanical devices. They'll have nuts, bolts, screws, things like that. And those type devices will be of use. Someone asked about the K-bar. What did I think of the K-bar including in a pack? The K-bar was designed by a committee to be a combat/utility knife for World War II. Well, not for World War II, just prior to World War II. In the 1930s, the knives that they had were found to be inadequate. They were all kinds of problems coming from the troops, complaining of they were too hard a Rockwell, too soft a Rockwell, bent too easy, snapped too easy, rolled edge, etc. And from that, they came up with this knife. Now, the basic knife is a Bowie design with a false edge back here which can be sharpened. It has a flat spine back here. It has the two famous what they're called blood grooves, which do work when you're stabbing into very thick muscle, and it creates a suction and it's harder to pull it out. But that's really more for swords and big bayonets versus a knife. And it had a cross guard all the way across it to keep your hand from sliding up when sticking. It also had a very strong pommel for pounding tent stakes. It was also meant to be disposable from the military point of view. These were issued in mass quantities. Anytime you got back to base or got resupplied, you could get another knife. So if it snapped, you had to use it for something, had to be sacrificed, so be it. This was a tool like a canteen or anything else, okay? But it is still a good utility knife. It is still a good fighting knife for those that have such skill. There are better designs. Of course, this was designed nearly 100 years ago. So yeah, there are newer modern designs. But if you are interested in this design and you feel comfortable with it, it is not a bad choice for that. It is not a good choice for bushcraft, but it is a good choice for a bug-out bag urban fighting survival knife. Yes. Okay. Next, we'll be going into medicines and things like that, only in general. The purpose of this series is to give you talking points, give you the mindset, and show you the various thoughts that you need to look at, because I'm not where you are, and what is important to me and my set would not be important to you. I live in the deep southern. The tornadoes, for example, of natural disasters are very intense, but they're in a small area, no more than like a mile or so wide, and about the time the debris stops falling, somebody's coming to help you. Hurricanes are my big thing because it can devastate an entire region. And like we saw with Katrina, a modern city went to a third world country in 18 hours, where there was no law, there was no nothing. So therefore, that is what I have to be prepared for. That kind of storm, that kind of movement, kind of that type thing. On the West Coast, you've got West Coast, you've got earthquakes. Dadgum, couldn't find that a minute. Far north, you've got ice storms. You've got all kinds of other. Where you're at, plus being in the cities or next to the cities, you may have an urban upheavals, whatever. Those are the things that you have to deal with, and your bag needs to reflect that. So I can't tell you, buy this knife, buy this here, buy that, buy that, buy that, because that would apply in my situation, but probably not in yours. So the whole purpose of this series is to give you talking points, give you my thought process on what would be important, and then you have to plug in your gear to fit your given need. The gentleman that was asking about the K-bar, I would not feel naked carrying a K-bar. I would prefer to have my master woodsman on me, but I wouldn't feel naked either with this. I've got a lot of experience with the K-bar. Hope this gives you some ideas, guys. Please, in the comments down below, anything you'd like me to cover or some thought or process you'd like me to touch on, please include that, and I'll try to work it into the series. Till next time, I'm Blackie for Shaman's Forge Woodscraft. Wishing you safe journeys. Have a great time, guys.